on outdoor water efficiency topics. The intent of this series is to bring together certified irrigation professionals, professional certifying organizations, and water utilities to highlight mutually beneficial opportunities among these groups. These webinars will provide ideas and resources to irrigators and utilities looking to focus their efforts on outdoor water use practices and opportunities for savings. So WaterSense is working with two of our partner organizations, Cobb County Water System and the Alliance for Water Efficiency, to provide this series with webinars that are going to occur on a quarterly basis. So you can look forward to our next webinar that's going to be this summer on weather-based irrigation controllers. I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping topics before we get started. All attendees were muted when they entered the webinar to minimize background noise. If you want to ask a question, you can type those into the chat box that's at the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and Judy and I will answer those questions at the end of the webinar. This PowerPoint presentation and audio will be posted to both the WaterSense partner website and AWE's YouTube channel following the presentation, and there's a link to AWE's channel on this slide. Today's webinar will focus on two overarching topics. I'll start off with some information on how to market water-efficient irrigation this spring using some WaterSense resources and materials that are available through our Sprinkler Spruce-Up campaign. And I'll focus the information on opportunities available to irrigation professionals, water utilities, and other organizations. Then we'll hear from Judy Benson, who is a certified irrigation professional and the 2010 WaterSense Irrigation Partner of the Year. She's also the owner of Clearwater PSI in Florida. And Judy is well known for her focus on water-efficient irrigation practices and is going to provide us with some tips on how you can maintain and repair an irrigation system, focusing on steps that will provide customers with the biggest bang for their buck. So before I get started on how to market water-efficient irrigation, I wanted to do a quick poll to understand who my audience is. So who do we have on the call today? If you could just click, if you're a water utility, a certified professional, a non-certified professional, local or state government, or an other type of organization. All right, we have pretty good results now. If we can close it. All right, so we've got a good mix. It's good to see. And then I have one more poll, which is to understand how you're affiliated with the WaterSense program. So this question is, are you a WaterSense partner or an irrigation professional that's certified through a WaterSense labeled certifying organization? So if you're either of those, push yes. If you are not partnered with the WaterSense program, or you're a non-certified professional, push no. All right, great. So a lot of partners, but also some non-partners. So I'm excited to share this information with both of these sorts of groups. So I will now jump into how to market water-efficient irrigation and provide some resources on how to do so. So WaterSense sees spring as being the perfect time to target consumers with messaging on water efficiency. As irrigation system users are turning their systems back on after the winter or increasing their water use for the warmer spring and summer months, it is a great time to target them with messaging on the benefits of irrigation system repair. So a lot of stuff could have gone wrong with an irrigation system over the winter, while it might not have been operated at all. You can see cracks in pipes from freezing and thawing of the ground, especially if you're located in a northern location. But even normal foot traffic can lead to tilting of sprinkler heads in the wrong direction or even breaking sprinkler heads. So it's really important to turn the system on and check it for inefficiencies before beginning normal operation. But many irrigation system owners don't know how to do this, and they don't even realize the importance of doing it. And that can waste a lot of water and a lot of money, which I know many of you are already very aware of this. So we have some stats here that show just how important it can be to save water to repair these irrigation systems. I'm not going to read these stats since they're on the slide, but I wanted to note them to you, and that this is a really great message to convey to owners of irrigation systems of how much water they can be wasting in their landscape. So WaterSense developed the Sprinkler Spruce-Up campaign to help irrigators and utilities target consumers, to help empower them to fix their own systems or to hire certified professionals to do it for them. So we see this as a nationally applicable campaign to encourage system maintenance in the spring, or really whenever it is most pertinent in your area. So we promote it in the springtime. We'll be promoting it at the end of April to coincide with the first weekend of May, but we do urge other organizations to promote it when it's most applicable in their area. So on the next few slides, I'm going to show some of the tools and resources that WaterSense makes available to promote irrigation system maintenance. So the Sprinkler Spruce-Up campaign, as I mentioned earlier, or just on the last slide, is consumer targeted, and it encourages homeowners to check their installed in-ground irrigation systems to make sure they're operating efficiently before they increase their water use during the spring and summer. The campaign stresses 4 steps to inspect, connect, direct, and select, which Judy is going to go into more detail on each of these steps in her portion, but I wanted to just provide a cursory overview of what these steps are. So we urge consumers to inspect for broken or clogged sprinkler heads, to connect hoses and pipes well and to look at those connection points for potential leaks, to direct irrigation spray onto the landscape and not the pavement, and to select a WaterSense weather-based irrigation controller to take some of the guesswork out of scheduling. So these tips can be promoted to consumers directly to empower them to go out and check their systems, but this campaign also incorporates another very important message, which is to go with a pro. So in a perfect world, we could trust irrigation system owners to go out and take responsibility for their irrigation systems that are using precious water resources. But the fact of the matter is that many homeowners who have irrigation systems, they don't know the first thing about how to check them and how to repair them. They're intimidating and they're not simple, and a lot of people inherited them when they purchased their homes. So consumers, a lot of them don't realize how much water they're wasting with these systems. They're not aware of that. So that's where promoting certified professionals can come into the picture. And WaterSense labels professional certifying organizations. I have a list of them on this slide. It includes the Irrigation Association, the California Landscape Contractors Association, or CLCA, as I have it written here, the Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper Program, which includes 12 adopting organizations that are mostly out in the West, but also in Florida, and there are a couple others on this slide. These WaterSense label programs stress water efficiency in addition to competence with irrigation systems, and you can access that full list with more information on these programs in the first link that's on this slide. These tips can, so I just want to stress that these, some of the benefits of using these irrigation professionals. So they have been certified by these WaterSense labeled programs, and they're trained in how to effectively and efficiently audit, repair, install, and design irrigation systems. These professionals are top-notch and are the resources that we should be pointing consumers to. So I want to take another moment to tell you a few ways that you can promote these professionals, especially focusing on our utility and other promotional organizations that are on the call today. So come July, WaterSense is going to have, we're going to be updating our directory of certified professionals and adding new functionality to that list. It's going to allow customers to locate irrigation professionals that are near them. So we encourage you to link to that list on your website and to promote it. And we'll also be expanding the number of professionals that will be on that list by several thousand additional professionals, because we are expanding the benefits of the WaterSense program to all professionals who have been certified through labeled programs. Also, if you want to go a step beyond that, you can provide rebates to customers to get a free audit using a certified irrigation professional. So that's another way to promote these individuals. So now I'd like to walk through some of the tools that we make available to promote efficient irrigation through our Sprinkler Spruce-Up campaign, and also to provide some tips on how you can use them. So WaterSense provides many tips and tools to our partners and our certified irrigators on how to promote irrigation system maintenance for sprinkler Spruce-Up. If you are a certified professional, your professional certifying organization should have made these materials available to you. If they haven't, you can reach out to them directly and they should be able to send them to you. So the tools I have on this slide, I want to talk about how irrigation professionals can use them, and on the next slide I'm going to focus more on our other professional organizations and utilities on how they can use our tools. So for those irrigation professionals that have social media accounts, we do have social media posts that you can put on your Facebook and Twitter. So these are sample posts, and we have a couple of infographics, including the house infographic and the hose infographic that are on this slide, as well as a new animation that we haven't sent out to our PCOs yet, but that will be sent out very soon, and then they will be making that available to you. And this new animation really, it promotes irrigation repair along with really stressing the go with a pro message. So we think that will be really useful to put out on your social media to promote using certified professionals this spring to check irrigation systems. If you do social media, it's important to remember that having an infographic or an animation gets a lot more views than just having text. So we encourage you to definitely use those graphics. If you don't have social media, but you do have a website, we have sample website text that you can use to promote Sprinkler Spruce-Up and this idea of going with a certified professional. Those of you who are looking to advertise your services to old customers or to a new service area, we also have a postcard, which is this image on the screen that has the pansies on it. And also I just want to mention that you can help drum up interest in your business and promoting yourself as a water efficient irrigation professional by also promoting your affiliation with the WaterSense program, and you can do that by using the promotional logo, which is actually the Look For logo that you can see on the upper right-hand corner of this screen. So in my next slide, I wanted to mention tools that our other partner organizations can use besides irrigation professionals. So many of the tools that I just mentioned for professionals are also really appropriate for utilities as well. So the social media posts, those are appropriate, and they include special shortened URLs and hashtags on them to make them easily usable. Also, the sample web and article text can be used on your website or any blogs or mass emails you may be putting out. And we have a web badge that's in the lower right-hand corner of this screen that you can post on your website and direct to the WaterSense Sprinkler Spruce-Up information. We also have a bill stuffer and a case study. The bill stuffer is customizable, so if you send that out, you can add your company's information on it. And we have a new case study that highlights the work that the Municipal Water District of Orange County in California did. They collaborated with some local Home Depot stores to host some in-store events promoting water-efficient plant choices, the Sprinkler Spruce-Up campaign, and WaterSense labeled weather-based irrigation controllers. So if you're doing an event this year, or considering an event for next year's Sprinkler Spruce-Up, take a look at this case study. It includes some really helpful tips on how to host an effective event. And all of these tips are available on our partner website, which I noticed some of you are not partners. So if you're not a partner, it is easy to sign up and gain access to these resources. You have to qualify for partnership, but there is a link at the bottom of this screen that talks about partnership and can help you figure out if you're qualified. So many of the WaterSense partners are planning events to promote Sprinkler Spruce-Up, and I just wanted to touch on those really briefly. The City of Plano is holding 2 educational workshops and plans on promoting a new online learning module that teaches users how to identify and repair common sprinkler problems. There's a link to that module on the screen. Also, Ewing and the California Landscape Contractors Association are working together to provide certified professionals with training events in Northern and Southern California. And those events are geared towards irrigation professionals and will explain the benefits of using WaterSense labeled irrigation controllers. So look out for a message from Ewing and CLCA and also WaterSense on those upcoming trainings. Also, Cobb County in Georgia is working out the specifics for a possible rebate pilot for customers who hire a licensed and certified irrigation auditor to check their system. And Cobb County is also providing Ask a Pro office hours during which customers can consult with irrigation professionals on their outdoor watering questions. So quite a few really great events that we know of already, and we are learning about more and more every day as we hear from more of our partners. So if you are a partner and you're doing something for Sprinkler Spruce-Up, or you're a certified professional, please let us know. You can either email us directly, or we do have a partner notification form on our partner website. So I want to take just a moment to put in the plug for weather-based irrigation controllers, which is the select tenet of Sprinkler Spruce-Up's 4 steps. And that will be the focus, I think I mentioned before, of our next webinar this summer. So for those of you who are not familiar with them, which I imagine a lot of you are, I'm just going to go into some basics of what they are. So weather-based irrigation controllers act like a thermostat for your sprinkler system by integrating local weather and landscape conditions to tailor watering schedules for actual site conditions. So they help tell the sprinkler when to turn off and on. And this can help an irrigation system save water by avoiding unnecessary irrigation, say before, during, or after a rain event, or during cooler days when plants will need less water than on hot, sunny days. So replacing a standard clock timer with a WaterSense labeled irrigation controller can save a lot of water and money. On average, WaterSense finds that a home that installs a weather-based controller, replacing their standard clock timer, can save 8,800 gallons of water a year. This statistic does assume that the controller is programmed correctly and not left with the manufacturer's settings. So these controllers can save a lot of money and water, but it's really only if they're programmed correctly. So it's not a magic bullet that you can just install and save water. They have to be programmed correctly, and they have to be installed in an irrigation system that's already been repaired, maintained to be working effectively. So if you do promote this product for Sprinkler Spruce-Up, make sure to learn about proper programming, which we will be discussing on the next webinar later this summer. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Judy Benson, but before I do that, I have one more poll, and I'd like to know how you heard about this webinar today. So we'll get that poll up, and all right, there it is. All right, great. So a lot of it through the WaterSense mass email, also some through our PCOs, AWE, and some other means. Great, thank you so much. So now let me introduce Judy. So as I mentioned before, Judy is a certified irrigation professional and WaterSense's 2010 Irrigation Partner of the Year. She's also the owner of Clearwater PSI in Florida. But one thing I didn't mention about Judy before is that she also administers the Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper Program, which I mentioned is one of WaterSense's labeled PCOs, and she administers that in Florida, making it available to Florida irrigators who are looking to become certified. So if you're in Florida looking for a PCO, check out the QL program that's administered through Judy's Florida WET. So please welcome Judy, who will provide us with some tips on how to properly inspect and repair irrigation systems and to get the water efficiencies that we're looking for. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you, Amber, and good day, everyone. I really appreciate your participation in today's webinar. I'd also like to say thank you to EPA WaterSense, who invited me to share my thoughts and also discuss Sprinkler Spruce-Ups. So as Amber said, today we're going to break our discussion down into 4 sections. It includes inspect, connect, direct, and select. As shown in this graphic, the sprinkler systems can use or lose a lot of water. As irrigation and landscape professionals, we are on the front line when battling outdoor water use. I'm hoping that my comments help you to rally the troops and get out there and win this fight. We have a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and take a look at our next slide. Spring is an excellent time of year not only to repair damages, but also take a look and identify system alterations or renovations, and these can enhance coverage and increase water efficiency. An irrigation assessment can also be a useful tool for a contractor. They can identify opportunities during the inspection process. Irrigation system assessments really should be including visual observations and basic adjustments. Also recommendations to correct and repair the system. Contractors have an opportunity to provide irrigation coverage for optimal efficiency. So take a note of the sprinkler head damages and the items that are in need of a repair, but also take time, test the system, and review the coverage. Observe that the heads are straight, that they're clearing the turf, and there's no interference in the water pattern. Some of the turf varieties, these can grow thicker as the turf matures, so be certain that each head clears the turf, rises above the grass, even when that grass needs to be mowed. And reset the existing heads for the proper clearance, or change out the bodies. For example, take a 4-inch spray head and change it out to a 6-inch head. If the spray heads are installed on risers in the landscaped area, check and see if those risers can be removed and install the spray at ground level for better performance. Better yet, take a look and see if the zone can be renovated to a more efficient irrigation method, including micro or inline drip. Now, if the plants are mature, take one more look and identify whether they actually even need supplemental irrigation. Native or drought-tolerant plants, once they're established, they may not need irrigation at all. Go on and inspect the bubbler zones that water the trees. If the trees are established, say they're at least 2 years old, well, this zone may be able to be turned off and would prevent water waste. Go ahead, run and test the system. Test the pressure at the heads and look for fogging or an audible hissing sound. Go ahead and note your general maintenance needs, such as cleaning the nozzles, removing debris, adjusting water patterns, raise lower heads, and make certain to verify the operation of the rain shut-off device. Observe each area. Look for standing water or runoff. And make a note of the zones that really should have the runtime reduced, and then possibly program it to a cycle soak. These adjustments by themselves will help reduce water waste by keeping the water within the landscape. Do a visual assessment on the landscape conditions and look for growth patterns in the turf, but also disease, pest, and even nutritional deficiencies. Most property owners, they just add water when they see that the turf or the plants are starting to show some type of visual decline. I urge you to have a reasonable understanding of the plant material in your area. Know what some of the issues are, but also know a few of the solutions, because it's not always water. Verify that the irrigation design is providing head-to-head coverage, and this means that each water pattern reaches over to the opposing heads and vice versa. This is going to create an overlapped pattern. Typically, you're going to see this in a square or rectangular design. If single row coverage is present in one zone, look for another zone that's going to provide the opposing coverage for the same area. If it does not exist, then this is an opportunity to renovate the irrigation system. Discuss the recommendations to add heads or possibly an entire zone to the area and talk with the property owner. This renovation, it's not the same as a repair, so it may be a bit unexpected news for your client. I urge you, go ahead, mention it anyway. If it's not in their budget today, they can actually plan for this for a later date. And you may gain a long-term client that appreciates your knowledge and your increased level of service. So moving on to our next slide, it's going to briefly cover two critical factors, which is irrigation coverage and application. In irrigation terms, distribution uniformity and precipitation rate, these equal the best opportunity for water savings. Uniformity is defined as how evenly water is applied by overlapping sprinklers, or evenness of precipitation over a given area. Irrigation auditing using catch cans can clearly identify each zone's distribution uniformity. However, this method is somewhat time-consuming. Consider limiting the catch can audits to turf areas where uneven turf growth is very apparent. Precipitation rate, this is the rate at which a sprinkler system applies water to a given area. Now this is calculated and referred to as inches of water. Note on the graphic at the bottom of this slide that the rotor nozzle data is shown as gallons per minute, or GPM, and it also shows match precipitation rates, or MPR, for rotors. Verify that the rotors in the system that you're inspecting has the correct nozzle, not only to provide the distance, but also match precipitation. If you find a zone and it has all the same nozzles in all of the rotors, match precipitation. Now you have your assessment and your inspection complete. You've got your repair checklist in hand. So now it's time to get out there and get busy. Repair all the leaks. Make sure you have good connections. Be vigilant. Take a look at the micro and the inline drip connections that are going to be hidden under landscape bed canopies and underneath mulch. Make certain that all the devices are functioning properly. Make sure each emitter is working. Replace the sections of inline drip, change the heads and the nozzles, and of course use appropriate equipment to keep the system's design in good form. Replacement components installed during the repair should be identical to what's removed. If you mix a manufacturer's items or brands, you may alter the intent of the original irrigation design, and that would be possibly applying too much or too little water in an area. Of course, this is negatively going to affect the distribution uniformity. Contractors are strongly encouraged to seek one of the several irrigation auditor certifications available. This will clearly help you understand and identify and know how to calculate distribution uniformity and precipitation rates. For more information, you can check WaterSense labeled certification programs and visit epa.gov/WaterSense. Now, while you're out there, take a look and consider the age and the performance of the irrigation system. Is there an opportunity to change standard spray nozzles to the new higher efficiency nozzles? If so, complete that change throughout the entire zone. Implementing new nozzle technology can bring huge water savings. They can improve the uniformity of the zone's coverage, and this is simply by changing nozzles. We're going to take a moment and discuss a few nozzles that have come into the market recently. Let's say a system is installed and they use a lot of the VAN or the variable arc nozzles. Upgrading that zone to the HE vans or the high efficiency vans. These can reduce the gallons per minute and also give you an opportunity to reduce the run times. Due to improved application rate, HE vans can actually be installed now in the zones with MPR nozzles or fixed nozzles. HE van nozzles exceed 70% DU, which is distribution uniformity, and they decrease the water consumption up to 30%. If you have a spray zone that's operating at a high pressure and it has those visual signs of the misting and audible hissing, take a look at Toro's Precision's nozzles. This nozzle technology is going to reduce water up to 70%, and their microchip technology creates a larger, more uniform droplet to put the water where it's needed. Precision nozzles are available with male and female threads, and they work really well in pressure-reducing spray heads. And these nozzles are definitely going to provide a good return on investment for your client in those high-pressure zones. Rotary nozzles, these have been out for a while, a couple years, and they're a great item to install on zones that have fixed sprays operating with rotors. Changing out the spray nozzle to a rotary nozzle is going to improve the uniformity of the zone, and it helps apply water at a lower rate, which is closer to the precipitation rate of a rotor. Another scenario where you may use rotary nozzles to correct an issue is in a spray zone that's operating with too many heads on the line, or it's also operating at a really low pressure. Go ahead, change those nozzles out in the entire zone with the rotary nozzles, but then be certain that you adjust the watering schedule, because you just reduced the application rate tenfold from nearly 4 inches per hour down to 4/10 of an inch per hour. Rotary nozzles, they're going to give you a 30% reduction in water use, and they're also really good resistance for wind due to the larger droplets produced by the design. You've got a radius ranging from 12 to 35 feet. So using rotary nozzles, you're connected with a nozzle that's going to definitely provide you with increased performance and efficiency. Our next slide is going to discuss pressure regulation. Pressure regulation is another very beneficial upgrade for a mature sprinkler system. Now, pressure regulation devices do not increase the pressure within the zone. If you observe the misting and the hissing that I've spoken about, then this zone, again, is probably operating at a really high pressure, and it's wasting a lot of water. One of the most cost-effective methods for pressure regulation is going to be adding in an inline device, and it's usually installed after the backflow. When you do this, it's going to reduce the pressure throughout the entire irrigation system. So some systems, they need pressure regulated by individual zones due to the equipment. Rotors are going to operate best at 50 psi. Sprays, micro, and drip irrigation, they're more efficient between 30 and 40 psi. Individual zones can be regulated easily. You can install pressure regulating solenoid valves or consider an inline device after each of the zone bounds. Pressure regulating rotors and spray bodies can be installed for more specific control, but due to the labor required for the installation, this may actually increase the amount of time to capture the return on investment. Individual heads are going to provide a uniform pressure throughout the entire zone, so it doesn't matter whether the head is closest to the valve or the one farthest away in the zone. Pressure regulation can reduce your client's water use 10 to 20%. So combining this technology with the new efficient nozzles, you're really going to increase the zone's efficiency. You could increase it up to 50%. So this means less water used, more efficient placement, and better turf and landscape aesthetics. Moving on, we're going to go to our next slide, which includes more water-saving devices. So another device is the check valve spray heads and rotors. And we can install these in lowest lying heads on the zone or at slopes. And what happens is this retains the water in the system piping, which is going to be used for the next irrigation cycle. Check valve heads also prevent water from weeping out slowly, causing soil saturation or soil compaction. Also consider adding a rain shutoff device on each of the systems that you service. This is going to save water regardless of where you live. If you install a standard rain sensor in cooler climates, these systems are winterized and shut down. But in the warmer climates, I recommend that you install a rain freeze sensor because our systems may not be shut down during the winter months. Rain shutoff devices can pay for themselves with water savings as little as in one rainy season. Looking at commercial or large acreage sites, these are prime candidates for flow sensors, and they're going to quickly identify the need to complete service due to a system leak or a bad valve. Some of our water utilities have installed automated meter readers, and these are also called AMRs. These sense constant water use, And some of the purveyors actually incorporate AMRs with a computer software which is going to send an alert directly to the consumer and notify that they have excessive water waste, prompting a service call. Our next slide is going to bring us to our fourth section, direct. You'll want to go ahead, direct, and adjust the water patterns to the landscape, prevent the water from spraying onto the walkways, the buildings, into the roads, and especially our storm drains. Plan on getting wet. You're going to need to go out there and physically adjust each head's water pattern to get it onto the landscape. When you're adjusting the rotors, be patient. Watch the rotor's water pattern as it moves from left to right and then from right to left. My question, does the longer distance stay out of the road or off the driveway? Make sure each of the rotor's water pattern touches the opposing head. Use the diverter screw and it can increase or decrease the rotor's distance. Verify that the fixed stop on the rotor is aligned with the pavement or the concrete area, especially keeping it off the buildings. Make arc adjustments as needed and prevent the overspray. Once the water is directed onto the landscape, now it's a good time if you want to complete a full irrigation audit. System audits are instrumental in identifying the uniformity of the sprinkler's coverage in inches. This measurement is used to identify the best run time for each of the zone's valve. Applying the correct amount or inches of water is one of the most effective ways to improve water efficiency in any irrigation system. This is critical for turf health and landscape aesthetics because too much water can create root damage, it can increase plant or soil fungus, and it can cause soil compaction. Let's move forward because our next slide reminds us to take a look at just a few more things. Let's verify that the adequate sprinkler coverage on the turf and the landscape is present. Be certain to check the system's valve operations. Verify that each valve opens and closes properly. This will prevent water waste. Meters and pumps, these should remain idle when the irrigation system is not in use. Review the current settings on the controller. See if there's opportunities to reduce water use. Did you change those spray nozzles? If so, you're going to need to adjust the zone's runtime. The water schedule, again, it's critical for optimal irrigation efficiency. And the contractors, we must know and understand how much water is being applied within that specific amount of time to correctly adjust the zone's runtime. The next consideration is frequency of operation, or how many days each week the system needs to actually operate to provide the landscape with the effective amount of irrigation. In conservation irrigation practices, this is going to include slight visual plant wilt, and that's our indication that an irrigation cycle is absolutely necessary. Turf and plants, they naturally have a varying water requirement during not only the calendar year, but also the growing season. Adjusting the irrigation system's valve runtime for seasonal adjustments, this can be done quickly, and you can do so by using the controller's water budget or seasonal adjustment feature. Identify what your area's monthly evapotranspiration or ET rate is, and then adjust the run schedule along with a touch of a button. Use the water budget or the seasonal adjustment feature to increase or decrease valve run times. So if you're utilizing the water budget or the seasonal adjustment feature, please be certain, talk to your property owner and provide them with a guide that includes your recommendations. This can be really simple, just as easy as writing the adjustments on the invoice. So our next slide is going to give us a quick view of advanced controls. As we've discussed, there's a lot of added value items readily available to increase the sprinkler system's efficiency and your company's sales. So during the inspection, you looked for system components and the head placement that could be improved. Once the sprinkler system has adequate coverage and really good distribution uniformity, go ahead and talk to your property owner about upgrading their controller. Visit EPA's WaterSense website for a list of WaterSense labeled ET controllers. They've already proven that they're effective in outdoor water management. Select the brand that fits your toolbox, your client's needs, and their budget. Soon you're going to be implementing some serious water savings with your customer, getting a return on their investment during their first irrigation cycle. Consider a solar sink. These can be added to systems that are controlled by Hunter's X-Core or the Pro-C controllers. And I found the solar sink is a really cost-effective smart device, and it's included on EPA's WaterSense labeled weather-based irrigation controls. ET controllers in Central Florida, we've averaged a savings of 20 to 30% reductions in outdoor water use. I really like soil moisture sensors. These monitor the conditions in the soil, and they're installed within the turf's root zone. These devices, they've been very beneficial in reducing irrigation consumption. Some of our Florida installations have recorded 50 to 70% reductions just in outdoor water use. Look for this technology. Hopefully it's going to be added to the list of WaterSense labeled products soon. If your customer is on a tight budget, go ahead and encourage them to install that rain sensor. Again, in the warmer climates where the irrigation is operational for the majority of the year, install a rain freeze sensor, and this is going to prevent the sprinklers from operating during freezing temperatures. Again, to learn more about weather-based irrigation controllers and soil moisture sensors, register for the upcoming webinar through WaterSense. Our next slide is going to give us an opportunity to look at some key points from our discussion. So get out there, give your customers the biggest bang for the buck, and install high-efficiency nozzles, pressure regulation, and the rain sensor. Making the most of our sprinkler Spruce-Ups can really increase revenues and stop water waste. The water savings, they're going to add up, and they're going to add up to beautiful landscapes. So my last slide includes some insight into my personal experience in the industry. My career has been very fulfilling. I attribute a lot of this to my quest for more technical-based knowledge through the industry. I founded Clearwater PSI in 1997. It was literally a grassroots company, and we specialized in irrigation repairs. By grassroots, I mean I was the one driving the truck. I was the one in the trenches as the licensed contractor. I combined this with the additional responsibilities of running a company, and promoting our services. This hands-on perspective has been very valuable to me, and it's provided an opportunity for me to look past replacing broken heads and gluing pipe. Out in competitive situations when bidding new systems, this provided me insight to the type of irrigation designs that were the status quo in our area, meaning low distribution uniformity or stretched coverage. And they required excessive run times just to sustain turf. So I decided I needed more. I wanted to make my company stand out. I wanted to show that we had the best knowledge to address high water use and improve outdoor water efficiency. Irrigation certifications, these were the tools I chose to put in my toolbox. I achieved my first certification through Florida Irrigation Society. I took their inaugural irrigation auditor course. I had already begun discussions with a local water purveyor who had interest in managing outdoor water use in our area. My company secured the contract, and we were soon completing irrigation evaluations countywide. But showing our success record and voicing my interest in working with other utilities just wasn't enough at times. So I sought out some more certifications, attended Irrigation Association courses, and obtained my Certified Irrigation Contractor, Irrigation Designer, and Landscape and Irrigation Auditor. These certifications, they've been instrumental in expanding our work with utilities. The certifications offer immediate recognition and assurance to the utilities. They assure that the contractor has the technical knowledge necessary not only to create positive changes in outdoor water use, but sustaining the landscape aesthetics, which is so important. These voluntary certifications, they actually showcase the contractors as the professionals in their industry. With water issues and concerns continuing to grow across the United States and beyond, irrigation professionals, they're a group that can provide knowledgeable services and experience to utilities, those that are in search of reliable assistance in managing outdoor water use. Certified individuals with an interest in promoting effective water efficiency, they can promote their abilities and open communication with water purveyors on many levels. Utilities, they can find relief in this segment of our industry. They can work with certified irrigation professionals of EPA WaterSense labeled programs. These professionals, they're recognized for their knowledge and their skill set, and this is on a nationwide basis. I firmly believe, and I've personally experienced the benefits of providing services to local utilities. I believe that establishing a working relationship with water purveyors, that we, as irrigation and landscape professionals, we can offer solutions and assist in correcting the portion of our country's water issues. Efficient irrigation practices reduce use, they reduce pollution, and they create a mutually beneficial, positive outcome for all involved. In closing, again, I'd like to say thank you for your time, allowing me to share my thoughts, my knowledge, and experience with each of you. And so I look forward to answering your questions after Amber provides you with our session summary and a bit more information.
Thank you, Judy. That was really useful information. I really appreciate you sharing your personal experiences with us as well. So I want to touch on, before we close up and open up for some questions, I wanted to share with you a couple of upcoming webinars. So AWE, one of our partner organizations that have helped us put on this webinar, will be having a webinar on implementing successful watering restrictions. That will be in June. They'll be sending out an announcement about that a little bit later. Also, we've mentioned multiple times that there's a weather-based irrigation controller webinar that will be a part of this series, and that should be sometime this July, and we'll be sending out an announcement about that once we have a date pinned down. I also want to administer one more poll to see what types of webinars that you all would like to see in the future on outdoor topics. So we'll get that out. And you can select as many as you would find interesting. This will be helpful for us in our planning in the future. All right, we'll close that. Okay, that's pretty good. So kind of across the board, but making the business case for water conservation seems to have the highest interest with reaching our research on customer attitudes towards their landscapes being next highest. That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. So now I'd like to move into the question and answer portion of our webinar. As I mentioned before, you can type your questions into the chat box, and I'll hand it over to Laura, who's going to read the questions to us.
Thanks, Amber. So we have one question. Are there any tools I can use to show my customer the benefit of installing a WaterSense labeled weather-based irrigation controller?
Judy, do you want to take that question? Do you have any tools and resources that you can point any of the listeners to today?
Absolutely, I sure can. So when you're interested in utilizing either the weather-based irrigation controllers or even the high-efficiency water nozzles that we spoke about today, you can go to the individual manufacturers' websites. They've got some excellent tools posted for your use in order to identify what's being installed and also gain the characteristics of the system you're installing it in. When you combine those two factors, you're going to get estimated water savings. And again, it's by each individual manufacturer.
Great. Thank you, Judy.
And so if you have a customer that doesn't want a weather-based controller, how can I find ET data for my area to create a weather-based schedule to give them?
Judy, do you think you can also take that?
That's a great question. Yes, I'll take that question. It's a very good question as well. So what I would recommend is, first and foremost, check with your local extension office, the cooperative extension office, local utilities, or possibly one of your universities within the state. These three resources are going to be your primary avenues to gain your ET data. And this is going to be broken down on a monthly basis. It's going to be shown as a number. And what you want to do is locate the highest ET rate for your area, meaning here in Florida, our highest ET rate is typically found in the month of May, and therefore all the other months would be programmed in at a lesser percentage or value. And again, break those out by monthly. You find your highest ET rate and also your driest month, and then start counting down from there.
Great. Thanks, Judy. Some more questions. So I read that plumbers can't partner with WaterSense, but if there's a plumber that I'm working with that also does outdoor water stuff, could they partner with WaterSense then?
So I can take that question. So in order to be involved with the WaterSense program, if you are a professional right now, you have to have a certification that's WaterSense labeled. And right now, WaterSense only labels certifications for the landscape industry. So irrigation system auditors, designers, and installers. So there's possibilities in the future that will expand to different types of certifying organizations, but right now it is just those three. So if a plumber does do outdoor work, they would need to pursue getting a certification in one of those three areas with one of our labeled programs.
Do you have any information on using rainwater or like reclaimed water for irrigation?
So we have really limited information on the WaterSense website right now on rain barrels and water reuse. It's definitely an interesting area that we are interested to move into in the future, and it's definitely, I mean, looking at drought issues that are happening, it's really a great topic. So I think it's an area that we hope to have more information on in the future. We do have some limited resources right now on the outdoor pages.
There was a follow-up question about that plumber. Can they just become a general WaterSense partner?
So in order to be a WaterSense partner, you have to be with an organization that WaterSense partners with. So if you happen to be with an NGO or like someone that falls into one of our promotional organization category types, you could definitely become a promotional partner, but you'd have to be within that type of organization. So on one of my past slides, there was a link to more information on how to partner with WaterSense, so I would definitely check out that resource and see if your organization falls into one of those partner categories. If it doesn't, there can be different ways that we can work together, but it would not include partnership.
So another question about ET information. This attendee missed some of Judy's presentation and is wondering if we're suggesting 100% ET replacement as part of the irrigation scheduling.
Judy, do you want to take that question, or would you like me to take it?
I can take that, Amber. So we definitely do want to address the ET rate that is recommended or required for each area, and 100% replacement would be the very maximum for any controller setting, whether it be a standard timer or a weather-based irrigation controller. The benefit would be that the weather-based irrigation controller is going to automatically make adjustments on a localized level due to your current weather and climate conditions. So the ET rates definitely are a guideline, and it is something that we would water to, but we certainly do not want to exceed it or override that due to current weather conditions.
Great, thank you, Judy.
And another question is wondering whether WaterSense will be developing its own certification program.
So I can take that. At this time, WaterSense does not plan to develop its own certification program. Right now, given the resources that we have available to the program, the most cost-effective way for us to work with the industry is by developing specifications that label other programs. So yeah, I don't see that as something that WaterSense will be moving forward with at any time in the near future.
It looks like that's all the questions for now.
Yes, Judy?
I would like to just add one final comment. There were several questions about becoming partners as individuals, and by taking one of the certified irrigation auditor courses, whether they're plumbers or outdoor irrigation and landscape professionals, that would give them an avenue to come into the WaterSense arena as a partner.
Totally true. Yes. So as long as they seek that certification, they will be affiliated with WaterSense and they'll have access to all of our tools. So the plumber would have to seek the certification, though, in order to receive those benefits.
And are any of those certifications offered online?
Well, I do know of one program that offers their testing online. But that is a great question. Maybe something we should look into more to provide that resource.
And there is that list of the certifying organizations on the website, and you can always check with them for more information in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, it looks like those are all of our questions that we have today. So I want to just take a moment to thank all of you for being part of our first webinar on our outdoor series. As I mentioned before, we're going to move forward with having our next webinar topic on weather-based irrigation controllers, although given the feedback that we got on the webinar today, we may seek out a different topic instead. So thank you all for listening to this webinar today. I hope it was useful for you. We really enjoyed the privilege of being able to share this information with you, and we hope that it will lead to success in your pursuits to urge consumers in your area to maintain or repair their irrigation systems and to reduce their water use. So thank you all so much.